Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, text number 12. Karmanyasmin anashvase Dhumadhumratmanam bhavan Apayayati Govinda Pada Padmasavam Madhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity as sacrificial fire, but we are without certainty of its result because of many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Govinda, which you are distributing. Purport. The sacrificial fire kindled by the sages of Naimisharanya was certainly full of smoke, and the sages were full of doubts because of so many flaws in such activity. The first flaw is that there is an acute scarcity of expert brahmanas able to carry out such performances successfully in this age of Kali. Any discrepancy in such sacrifices spoils the whole show, and the result is uncertain, like agricultural enterprises. The good result of tilling the paddy field depends on providential rain, and therefore the result is uncertain. Similarly, performance of any kind of sacrifice in this age of Kali is also uncertain. Unscrupulous, greedy brahmanas of the age of Kali induce the innocent public to take part in such uncertain sacrificial shows without disclosing the scriptural injunction that in the age of Kali there is no fruitful sacrificial performance but the sacrifice of the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Suta Goswami was narrating the transcendental activities of the Lord before the congregation of sages, and they were factually perceiving the result of hearing these transcendental activities. One can feel this practically as one can feel the result of eating food. Spiritual realization acts in that way. The sages of Naimisharanya were practically sufferers from the smoke of the sacrificial fire and were doubtful about the result. But by hearing from a realized person like Suta Goswami, they were fully satisfied. In the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Vishnu tells Shiva that in the age of Kali, men full of anxieties of various kinds can vainly labor in fruitive activity and philosophical speculations, but that when they are engaged in devotional service, the result is sure and certain, and there is no loss of energy. In other words, nothing performed for spiritual realization or for material benefit can be successful without devotional service to the Lord. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Hare Krishna. All of you have come on this Sunday morning, attended the program, and now sitting here in Srimad Bhagavatam class. I want to know, with a show of hands, how many of you could, at your homes, take bath, have sufficient water to take bath, and come here for this morning program. Very nice, you're all very fortunate people. Because yesterday's news said, rupees 1.5 crores flat has no water. Parched Bengaluru banks on wet wipes, malls, restrooms for help. So this is the Bangalore water crisis. Home to about 14 million people, thousands of startups and international firms from Walmart to Alphabet. The city has banned car washing, gardening, construction, water fountains, and even imposed steep fines of up to rupees 5,000 to battle the water crisis. If you are found using drinking water or clean water for any of these purposes like washing your car, gardening, construction, water fountains, then you will be fined for up to 5,000 rupees by the government. Not only this, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar said, even the borewell in my house has dried up. Earlier, there was news flash and videos showing that water tanker is going into the CM's house. So residents of Prestige Falcon City, the same apartment gated community which has 1.5 crores worth apartments on Kanakpura Road, according to news portal Money Control, they say that there the residents have been visiting the nearby Forum Mall to use its washrooms. So one user has put in the X platform, there was a time when Bangalore malls were used for people discussing startup ideas. Now people are using it to take bath and toilet because their 1.5 crore flats have no water. So we see this is the situation today. Here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has also given the example of how agriculture fails when there is no rainfall. Many years back, almost 21 years back, in 2003, the government started on a very ambitious project to bring rains, to induce rains, called cloud seeding. They spent almost 90 crores every year for this. At that time, it was called the Project Varuna. And last, it was performed in 2019 with the name Project Varshadhare. But somehow, in spite of all this money spent, names being changed, it did not work properly. Besides, it gave rise to other drawbacks. Apart from loss of 90 crores to the state exchequer, the other drawbacks of cloud seeding were environmental pollution, mishandling the chemicals like silver iodide and dry ice, altered the marine ecosystem. Dry ice, that is solid carbon dioxide, is a greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. It gave rise to health problems like respiratory problems, skin irritation, gastrointestinal problems. So silver iodide can cause iodism, a type of iodine poisoning that caused a running nose, headache, skin rash, anemia, etc. And it also created unpredictable weather patterns. And most importantly, it cannot work on all clouds. First of all, clouds should be present, then only cloud seeding can be done. And it will not work on all clouds. The clouds must be deep enough and have a suitable temperature of at least -10 to -12 degrees Celsius. Then, and the wind should also be of certain speed. And only then it is possible to do cloud seeding. So it is possible only in mountainous areas. So all these were the drawbacks of cloud seeding, and so it did not succeed. But we all know natural rainfall solves all the water crisis naturally with no adverse effects. So here the sages of Naimisharanya have assembled to perform fire sacrifice for 1000 years at the Sandhya Kala of Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Sandhya Kala means the junction between one phase and another phase. Like in our day also there are 3 Sandhya. early morning when the Sandhya is between night and the beginning of the day, dawn. So that is Pratah Sandhya. Then there is Madhyanika Sandhya, that is when the sun is at the top of the head, around 12 o'clock, 11:30, 12, from morning to afternoon it is passing, that is noon. And then there is Sayam Sandhya when sun is setting, dusk, when the day is crossing out to night. Similarly, the four yugas also, Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, there is a Sandhya. Treta Yuga to Dwapara Yuga, there is a Sandhya. Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, there is a Sandhya. So the sages are performing this fire sacrifice. They have gathered in Naimisharanya at the Sandhya of Dwapara to Kali, beginning of Kali Yuga. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, fourth shloka, it is said, Naimishe animisha kshetre rishayah shaunakadayah satram swargaya lokaya sahasra shamam ashata. Once in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. So why did they assemble? The great sages are always anxious to do good to the people in general. And as such, the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi and others assembled at this holy place of Naimisharanya with a program of performing a great and continuous chain of sacrificial ceremonies. So they wanted to do it for people in general, for their good. They are sincere friends to all living entities, and at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of people, all people. So, the good of all people is possible by rendering service to the Lord. How is it? You may say how everyone will be benefited by performing service to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, Lord Vishnu is just like a great tree, and all others, including the demigods, devatas, men, we human beings, siddhas, charanas, vidyadharas, and other living entities, are like branches, twigs, and leaves of a tree. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all parts of the tree are automatically nourished. Only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually despite all watering attempts. Similarly, human society, which is when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered, and one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. So the modern materialistic society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord, and all its plans which are being made by atheistic leaders are sure to be baffled at every step, yet they do not wake up to this. Like what we are seeing today, with the kind of crisis we are facing and the kind of solutions that our leaders are trying, and the crisis is not getting solved. So the sages, being well-wishers of the entire existence, gathered to engage in this 1,000-year sacrifice for welfare of entire world by pleasing the Supreme Lord Vishnu. However, while they were engaged in this activity, there came upon a great sage into that scene. He was none other than Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami happened to be present at the banks of Ganga earlier when Srimad Bhagavatam was being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. So, the current reading of Srimad Bhagavatam which we are reading is the Srimad Bhagavatam narrated by Vyasadeva to us, recording the conversation of Shaunakadi Rishis, inquiring from Suta Goswami to narrate what he had heard in the assembly where Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. That's the background. So therefore, when Shaunaka Adi Rishis in Naimisharanya, they asked, what did they ask exactly? Let us see. there are many varieties of scriptures. And in all of them, there are many duties which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Shaunakadi Rishis are saying to Suta Goswami. The many varieties of scriptures, all of them are having many prescribed duties which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these. Essence of all these and explain it for the good of all living beings so that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. So it is significant to note that although Shaunakadi Rishis had gathered to perform 1,000-year-long yajna with fire, they halted that fire sacrifice and preferred to hear from Suta Goswami about the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? It is answered in this verse, today's verse. In today's verse they are saying, we have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity, this yajna, a sacrificial fire, but we are without certainty of its result. They were not certain of the 1,000-year-old fire sacrifice that they have taken. Why? Because of the many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing. So although they were performing fire sacrifice, the result was nothing but just their body is becoming black with smoke. But when they stopped that and started hearing Suta Goswami's narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are saying they are factually pleased. Why? Because they felt like they were drinking the nectar of the lotus feet of Govinda, which he was distributing. So it is to be noted that this sacrifice was performed at Sandhya Kala between Dwapara and Kali. Beginning of Kali Yuga was about 5,000 years back. At that time itself, Shaunakadi Rishis, they considered result of fire sacrifice may not be perfect. There is no certainty. Why? Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport. He says it is uncertain because the first flaw is that there is an acute scarcity of expert brahmanas able to carry out such performances successfully in this age of Kali. Any discrepancy in such sacrifice spoils the whole show. So in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, we see one example of how one such sacrifice was spoiled due to improper chanting of mantra during the sacrifice, during the yajna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, 9th chapter, there is a chapter called Appearance of the Demon Vritrasura. So the story is that there was one brahmana by name Twashta who lost his son Vishwarupa, killed by Indra. And because his elder son Vishwarupa was killed by Indra, Twashta, the father, became very angry, upset upon Indra, and he wanted to avenge the death of his elder son. So he wanted to get one more son who will kill Indra. So he began to perform one sacrifice. Twashta performed a sacrifice to kill King Indra. Unfortunately, if mantras are chanted irregularly, they yield an opposite result. This happened when Twashta performed the yajna. While performing the sacrifice to kill Indra, Twashta chanted a mantra to increase Indra's enemies. But because he chanted the mantra wrong, the sacrifice produced an asura named Vritrasura, of whom Indra became the enemy. That means the mantra's chanting effect was that asura became destined to be killed by Indra instead of he killing Indra. So exactly Srimad Bhagavatam mentions the shloka, Hataputras tatas Twashta, because his son was killed, Twashta, he started on yajna, Juhavan Indraya Shatrave. So this is a shloka he chanted, Indra Shatro Vivardasva, Machiram Jahi Vidvisham. Indra Shatro Vivardasva is what he chanted. So it is said, after Vishwarupa was killed, his father Twashta performed ritualistic ceremonies to kill Indra. He offered oblations in the sacrificial fire, saying, what he went to say was, O enemy of Indra, flourish to kill your enemy without delay. Indra Shatro Vivardasva. Indra Shatru Vivardasva is what he meant to say. Indra Shatru Vivardasva. Indra Shatru, grow, flourish to kill your enemy without delay. But there was defect in Twashta's chanting of the mantra, because he chanted it long instead of short. He had to chant Indra Shatru Vivardasva. Indra Shatru, you grow. But what did he chant? Indra Shatru Vivardasva. Indra, you grow to kill your enemy. That became the meaning. O enemy of Indra is what he meant, but in this mantra, it should be Shashti Tatpurusha Samasa if you chant as Indra Shatro Vivardasva. But he chanted Indra Shatro Vivardasva. So it became Bahuvrihi Samasa, which meant Indra, you flourish to kill your enemy. So because of this, what happened? Although he got the demon Vritrasura as his second son, instead of Vritrasura being able to kill Indra, he was destined to be killed by Indra. So this is the risk involved in such fire sacrifices. Opposite result is possible if little mantra chanting goes here and there. This is the problem of Vedic fire sacrifice. That's why Suta Goswami was being told by Shaunakadi Rishis that we are uncertain of our result of this fire sacrifice. But chanting the holy name of God, that is Mahamantra, like Hare Krishna Mahamantra, has no such opposite effects if chanted improperly due to some inability. We see Chinese devotees, they cannot properly pronounce Krishna. They Krishna. So, but it's not that they are not advancing. They are also chanting Hage Krishna, Hage Krishna, Krishna Krishna. That's how they chant. But still they are becoming good devotees. Because this Mahamantra, Krishna sees the Bhavagrahi Janardana. So he sees the mood, the feeling of the devotee chanting. But that is not true with these Vedic ritualistic sacrifices. So here it was not considered, what is the bhava of Twashta? No, what he chanted, that only he got. Similarly, we also read about the risks involved in even slight mistakes in performing various other karmakandiya yajnas. In the Krishna book, which is Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto itself, we read in the chapter 64 the story of King Nriga. This King Nriga was a great king who was famous for giving charity, performing various sacrifices where he would give charity to deserving brahmanas. So he was very famous in giving charity of cows. But once the Yadavas, the descendants of Yadu dynasty, Krishna's associates, his children, his friends, his grandchildren, everyone, they had gone to forest and they became thirsty, so they wanted to get some water from a well. They went and saw, but the well was dried up, and in the well there was one big lizard. They were surprised to see what is this lizard, and they brought Krishna to see. And when Krishna touched that lizard got transformed into King Nriga. And then King Nriga started telling his story of how he became a lizard. So he said that once he engaged in a sacrifice where he gave charity of 1 lakh cows to each of the brahmana performing the sacrifice. So many lakhs of cows, each so many brahmanas, everyone is giving 1 lakh cows. How their cows were given, very well decorated, all gold jewelry, everything he has put for the cows. And he has given 1 lakh cows for each brahmana. But one cow got somehow mixed up among the 1 lakh cows he had given to 2 brahmanas. 1 lakh for one brahmana, another lakh to one brahmana. In that, one cow somehow got mixed up between both. So the both brahmanas claimed that this is my cow. Now they both came and said, see, he has taken my cow. That brahmana said, no, it is my cow. Both of them are saying, this is my cow. That was the dispute. King Nriga became very surprised because the brahmana displeased. Then all the result of his sacrifice is wasted. So he begged the brahmanas, saying that any one of you, please give up the claim. In return, I will give you one more lakh cows, 1 lakh cows in return again. Exchange for that one cow that you will give up. I will give you 1 more lakh cows. So you give up. But both of them were not ready to give up the claim. No. This is mine, this is mine. So finally, both of them were upset. They gave up, they didn't take the charity and they left. As a result, he got big papa karma instead of getting punya karma of doing the charity. So what happened after that? He left his body. After many years, in due course of time, when he left his body, he went to Yamaloka, where the judgment was to be passed of his activities. Yamaraja said, okay, let's listen to his activities. So it was read out. It was said that he had so much punya karma in his account that if he started to enjoy the effect of it, there was no estimate of how much time he was, how many years, how many lifetimes he will enjoy because of the result of his punya karma. But he had one papa karma, that is this. So Yamaraja gave him choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to enjoy your papa karma first or you want to enjoy your punya karma first? Choose. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that people who are so much engaged in just karma kanda, they are foolish. They are not intelligent. He could have chosen, let me enjoy punya karma because anyway it's unlimited is there. Instead, King Nriga chose, no, first I will enjoy papa karma. I will suffer for papa karma, then I will see. So, as a result, he was turned into a lizard. So, he became lizard in that well. But, while in the body of lizard, somehow, because of his all punya karma, the effect, he was still having the memory and it induced him to meditate upon the Supreme Lord Krishna. As a result, he got the association of Lord Krishna. Krishna touched him, and when Krishna touched him, all his papa karma was relieved, and he resumed the form of the Devata of King Nriga. Then, so King Nriga was relieved of his curse, but he narrated, this is the story. So you see, the effect of little mistake in the karma kanda also is this. Because the purpose of all the activities must be, as we read in purport earlier, the root. What are the root? That is Krishna. Root is Krishna. Krishna himself says this in Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, 29th shloka. Bhoktaram yagnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shantim richyati. He says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices. Krishna is saying, he is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam. The Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods. The benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam. Jnatva mam, one who knows this, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Jnatva mam shanti vrichyati. So, the purpose of all activities must be to please Krishna. If it is not, if you have purposes like Twashta had purpose to kill Indra, King Nriga wanted some punya effect. So little here and there deviation, because the purpose is not to please Krishna in this. Purpose is our own sense gratification. So the result can be opposite also if there is slight error also. So in the same Krishna book we also read in the chapter 23, Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto, chapter 23, about how Krishna delivered the wives of the brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. The story goes that once Krishna and Balaram with all the cowherd boys went early morning to the forest to graze cows, the forest of Vrindavan. Krishna lived in Nandagram and Radharani lived in Barsana, and all of them, Krishna and his cowherd boyfriends, they used to go to different vanas. 12 vanas are there in Vraja. They would go one day to Bandiravan, Talavan, Belavan, Lohaman, like that. But Vrindavan is also a favorite spot. So that day they decided to go to Vrindavan. Why? Because the gopis were also performing one vrata, Katyayini vrata. So to please goddess Katyayini so that they can get Krishna as their husband. So Krishna knew that anyway, it is not possible for me to practically marry all these gopis and become their husband, but I want to fulfill their desire. So we know the story. He stole the clothes of gopis and they had gone to take bath in Yamuna to perform Katyayini Vrata. Before that they wanted to purify themselves. They went to take bath and they had kept all their clothes on the banks of the Yamuna. Krishna took away and put it on the treetop, and we know all the story, how he told the gopis to come out and collect their garments. That was because he wanted to fulfill their desire, because only a woman can show herself in that state only to her husband. So Krishna fulfilled their desire of being their husband by doing this Leela. So anyway, for this purpose he had gone to Vrindavan early morning. So usually he would go little late. After having breakfast and packing the lunch, he would go. But today, because of this Katyayini Vrata and Katyayini Vrata, early morning they are going, all these gopis, they are also fasting, and then they will perform Vrata. After that only they will do. So he wanted to also, please them. So he and because Krishna is the leader, and if Krishna is going empty stomach and without packing, and Balaram, everyone, they also did not pack anything. They also left early following him. So now all that Leela got over, they finished gopis this thing, and then all cowherd boys and everybody was resting under a tree. Then the boys became hungry. So they went to Krishna and Balaram. And they said, the boys began to feel hungry and they had not eaten their breakfast. So they said, Dear Krishna and Balaram, you are both all powerful. You can kill many, many demons. But today we are much afflicted with hunger and this is disturbing us. Please arrange for something that will mitigate our hunger. Requested in this way by their friends, Krishna and Balaram arranged to show compassion to certain wives of brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. You see, Krishna and Balaram could have done anything to mitigate the hunger, but Krishna always uses one activity to perform various results of various things he will achieve by performing one activity. So he thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to show my compassion, show my mercy upon these wives of brahmanas who are hankering to serve me, and to teach a lesson to these brahmanas, and to also satisfy the hunger of my friends. So Krishna took this opportunity to bless them. He said, my dear friends, please go to the house of the brahmanas nearby. They are now engaged in performing Vedic sacrifice known as Angirasa, for they desire to elevation to the heavenly planets. They were performing Angirasa Yajna. For what? So that they can go to Sarga. The brahmanas. They were such brahmanas who perform yajnas for certain punyas, so by which they can go to higher planets. They are called smarta brahmanas. Usually people think Brahmanas, different sections are there, Smarta, Vaishnava, Sri Vaishnava, Madhva, so many things. But actual meaning Smarta means those who do these kind of yajnas which result in getting some punya karma by which they can get elevated. So these were Smarta Brahmanas. So all of you please go to them, Krishna said. Then Krishna warned his friends. These Brahmanas are not Vaishnavas. They cannot even chant our names Krishna and Balaram. They are very busy in chanting the Vedic hymns, although the purpose of Vedic knowledge is to find me. But because they are not attracted by the names of Krishna and Balaram, you better not ask anything in my name. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said in 15th chapter, 15th shloka, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya vedanta krid veda vidyeva chaham. By all the Vedas, I have to be known. But here these Brahmanas, they won't even chant Krishna's name. They said, don't ask in my name. Then he is pushing it off to his brother. He's saying, better ask for some charity in the name of Balaram. Why he is saying this? Because charity is generally given to high-class Brahmanas. But Krishna and Balaram did not appear in any Brahmana family. Balaram was known as son of Vasudeva, a Kshatriya, actually. But that is, Vasudeva is who? Son of Vasudeva and Rohini, no? So he was known to everybody as Kshatriya. But Krishna, it was not known, no, that he is also Vasudeva and Devaki's son. They were all thinking Krishna is the son of, was known in Vrindavan as son of Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj was a Vaishya. So both of them neither belong to Brahmana community. Therefore, Krishna considered that the Brahmanas engaged in performing sacrifice might not be induced to give charity to a Kshatriya and a Vaishya. But at least if you utter the name of Balaram, they may prefer to give charity to a Kshatriya rather than to me because I am only a Vaishya. So Krishna told this. So being thus ordered by Krishna, the boys went to Brahmanas and began to ask for some charity. They approached them with folded hands and fell down to the ground to offer respect. This was the common practice. Brahmana must be worshipped like that. They would offer Dandavat Pranam. And look at how the cowherd boys, being, very simple cowherd boys, how they offered the respect. They said, O earthly gods, they called the Brahmanas earthly gods, kindly hear us. We wish you all good fortune. Krishna and Balaram are tending cows nearby, and we have accompanied them. We have come to ask some food from you. You are all Brahmanas and knowers of all the Vedic literature and religious principle. If you think that you should give us charity, then give us some food and we shall all eat along with Krishna and Balaram. You are the most respectable Brahmanas within the human society and you are expected to know all the principles of religious procedure. The boys continued, Lord Vishnu, as Krishna and Balaram is standing, waiting, and you should immediately deliver whatever food you have in stock. So, if the Brahmanas had any doubt that why should we give to them Krishna and Balaram, ordinary boys, cowherd boys. So cowherd boys told, no, they are actually Vishnu himself. They also explained to Brahmanas when the food is to be accepted, when it is not to be accepted. Because Brahmanas had doubt that no, but still we are in middle of yajna, at this stage how we can give. So they explained, no, we have studied, one is permitted to take food after the procedure of a Diksha, if it is Diksha ceremony, and Sautramani, but one is permitted to take food even at this stage in your ceremony. For now it will not be prohibited. So you can deliver us the food. So although the companions of Lord Krishna and Balaram were simple cowherd boys, they directed the Brahmanas about giving sacrifice. So the Smarta Brahmanas, of course, they were very upset that who are these boys to tell us. But the Smarta Brahmanas who were simply sacrificial minded could not understand the dictation of the transcendental devotees of the Lord. They could not even appreciate the begging of the Supreme Lord Krishna and Balaram. Although they heard all the arguments on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, they did not care for them. They refused to speak to the boys. Despite being highly elevated in knowledge of Vedic sacrificial rites, all such non-devotee brahmanas, although they think of themselves as very highly elevated, are ignorant, foolish persons. All their activities are childish because they do not know the purpose of Vedas, as it is explained in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo. In spite of their advancement of Vedic knowledge and rituals, they do not understand Krishna, therefore their knowledge of the Vedas is useless. This is what Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. And he is not simply saying by himself, because it is said, the ultimate goal of all Vedas is Supreme Personality of God, not only in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4 confirms this in the following words, Tattu Samanvayat. By doing all the Vedanta, the result is Samanvayat. You have to become closer. You have to come closer to Supreme Lord. Tat. To Samanvayat. To Him you have to come closer. But the Brahmanas were concerned with various things, such as various details, such as Desha, Kala, Pratagdravya, Mantra, Tantra, Shastra, Agni, Ritvik, Devata, Yajamana, Kratu, Dharma. All these things should be proper, they were thinking, but they forgot that these are all for satisfying Krishna. So in all our sacrifices, all our yajnas, even if you would have seen our Narsimha yajna or any yajna we perform, or in general you go and see, currently in Kali Yuga also, anywhere you perform any homa, yajna, or you go and attend, you will see at the end of the yajna there will be one shloka chanted. Kayena vacha manasendriyaiva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yatsat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami. Whatever I am doing with kaya, vacha, manasa, buddhi, prakriti, swabhava, whatever I am doing, finally it is meant for, I am offering it to Narayana. So this is what is confirmed. But because Krishna appeared as an ordinary covered boy, like an ordinary human boy, Brahmanas could not recognize. Krishna also says this in Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. In the 9th chapter, 11th verse, he says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So even though he appears in a human-like form, he is the Supreme Lord himself. Only fools will think, oh, this is an ordinary boy. So there are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists, Prabhupada says in the purport, about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, the authoritative texts for understanding the signs of Krishna, we can understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human being. In the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava Adimartyani Bhagavan Guda Kapatamanushaha. Gudaha Kapatamanushaha. So Krishna along with Balaram played like a human being and so masked his superhuman acts. So it means to bewilder the foolish, he masked himself as if he is human being. So Brahmanas were very much interested in comforts of material body, elevation to higher planetary system called Svargavasa. Therefore, they were unable to completely understand the position of Krishna. So what happened? So much the brahmanas were being glorified by these boys. No effect. They didn't even respond. They didn't even give one word. They completely ignored. When the boys saw that brahmanas would not reply to them, even with a simple yes or no, they didn't say yes, they didn't say no. They became very much disappointed. Then they returned to Krishna and Balaram and explained everything what had happened. After hearing their statement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled. He told them that they should not be sorry for being refused by the brahmanas because that is the way of begging. He convinced them that one who is engaged in collecting or begging should not think that he will be successful everywhere. He may be unsuccessful in some place. It should not be the cause of disappointment. So Krishna then asked all the boys to go again. But this time, he said, go to the wives of those brahmanas engaged in sacrifice. He also informed that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food on my name and the name of Balaram. Here he said, you ask in both of our names. And I am sure they will deliver you as much food as you desire. So carrying out Krishna's order, the boys immediately went to the wives of brahmanas. The brahmanas' wives were all sitting in their houses, decorated with ornaments because they were participating in this yajna. After offering them all respectful obeisances, the boys said, Dear mothers, please accept our humble obeisances and hear our statement. May we inform you that Lord Krishna and Balaram are nearby. They have come here with the cows, and you may know also that we have come here under their instructions. All of us are very hungry. Therefore, we have come to you for some food. Please give us something to eat. For Krishna, for Balaram, and for ourselves. Immediately upon hearing this, the wives of brahmanas became anxious for Krishna and Balaram. The reaction was spontaneous. They did not need to be convinced upon importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very eager to see them. Being advanced in thinking of Krishna constantly, they were performing greatest mystic meditation. All the wives then became very busily engaged in filling up different pots with nice food. Due to performance of sacrifice, the various foods were very palatable because they were performing for what? For this yajna. They took all that, collecting the feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most beloved object, exactly the way rivers flow to the sea. For a long time, they were eager to see Krishna, but when they were preparing to leave home to go to see him, their husbands, fathers, sons, relatives asked them not to go. But these wives did not comply. So, this experience all of us will be having. For many days, you want to come to temple for Sunday. I remember my own experience. Now, I wanted to come. Sunday alone I cannot come because my father knows. Sunday means where he will go. So I used to tell so many things. I told, no, there is one tuition I have joined specially on Sunday. So he said, give me the number. I even got one number, I arranged one friend to call and tell, yeah, he is coming here only. Then also he found out finally. One day my father told, Arey, you are going to temple only, you are not going to some pub. Why you have to tell so many lies and go? Better you tell truth and go, yeah. Then that day was liberation. So like this, when a devotee is called by the attraction of Krishna, he does not care for bodily ties. The women entered the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of Yamuna, which was verdant with vegetation, with newly grown vines and flowers. So they saw Krishna and Balaram. They were very happy. They began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, and distress of separation was mitigated immediately. So, after that, the wives of the Brahmanas were welcomed by Krishna in the following words. My dear wives of Brahmanas, you are all very fortunate and you are welcome here. Please let me know, what can I do for you? You are coming here to see me, neglecting all restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, husbands, is completely befitting. One who does this actually knows his self-interest, because rendering transcendental loving service unto me without motive or restriction is actually auspicious for all living entities. So Krishna actually appreciated them. And after that, they gave their offerings. Krishna took, and he said, my dear wives of Brahmana, you can now return to your homes, engage yourself in sacrificial activities and service of your husbands and household affairs, so that your husbands will be pleased with you. With the sacrifice which they have begun, it should be properly executed. After all, your husbands are householders. Without your help, how can they execute their prescribed duties? Now the wives of Brahmanas were anxious. They said, dear Lord, this sort of instruction does not befit you. Like you come here to temple and say, Prabhu, I want to join, I want to be here only. Then Prabhu will tell, hey, no, you should do all your duties, please go back home and do service nicely from home only. Like that, Krishna is also telling them, go back. So your eternal promise is that you will always protect your devotees. Now you must fulfill the promise. Anyone who comes and surrenders unto you never goes back to conditioned life of material existence. We expect that now you will fulfill this promise. We have surrendered to your lotus feet. We have no desire to give up this for the so-called relatives, friends and society. What shall we do if we return to our home? Our husbands, brothers, fathers, sons, mothers, friends will no longer accept us at home, because we have already left them all. Therefore, we have no shelter to return to. Please, therefore, do not ask us to return home, but arrange for our stay under your lotus feet, so that we can eternally live under your protection. So Krishna was now, oh my God, they have come to forest, they are saying, we will not go, we will be here only. So Krishna said, my dear wives of Brahmanas, rest assured that your husbands will not neglect you on your return, nor will your brothers, sons or fathers refuse to accept you, because you are my pure devotees. Not only your relatives, but also people in general, as well as the devatas, will be satisfied with you. So Krishna is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart. So he made sure that, all the Brahmanas, the husbands, all those people will be pacified. So after being instructed by the Lord, the wives of Brahmana returned to their respective homes and to their husbands. Pleased to see their wives back home, Brahmanas sat together with them, executed the sacrifice according to the Vedic principles, and then sacrifice was done. They were happy. But now, not only were they happy, by effect of Krishna being in the heart, Paramatma, he induced regret in their hearts. Now, the Brahmanas started regretting like this. They could finally understand their mistake in refusing food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They began to condemn themselves after seeing the faith and devotion of their wives. They regretted very much that although their wives were elevated to the platform of pure devotional service, they themselves could not understand even a little bit how to love and offer loving service to super soul. They began to talk among themselves, to hell with our being born Brahmanas, to hell with our learning of all Vedic literature, to hell with our performing great sacrifice, to hell with our family, to hell with our expert service in performing rituals, exactly according to description of scriptures. To hell with it all, for we have not developed transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although we are expert Brahmanas, we are considered to be teachers of all sections of human society. We have also been illusioned by this Maya. Just see how fortunate these women are. They have so devotedly dedicated their lives to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, that they could easily do what is ordinarily difficult. They gave up their family, which is just like a dark well, for the continuation of material miseries. So Prabhupada appreciates here saying, women in general, being very simple at heart, can very easily take to Krishna consciousness. And when they develop, those women who are ready to give up their families For Krishna, those women are being appreciated. So all these Matajis, of course. So rest assured, they will not be rejected, just like Krishna in the heart of as Paramatma, gave proper intelligence to their husbands. Similarly, to any dedicated Mataji, that intelligence to their husband, father, son, whoever will be given. This is Krishna's assurance. So the Brahmanas continued, according to Vedic injunction, women are not allowed to undergo any process of initiation by sacred thread. They are not allowed to live as brahmacharinis in the ashram of a spiritual master, nor are they advised to undergo strict disciplinary procedure, nor are they very expert in discussing philosophy of self-realization, and by nature they are not very pure, nor they are very much attached to auspicious activities. Therefore, how wonderful it is that these women have developed transcendental love for Krishna, the Lord of all mystic yogas. They have surpassed all of us in firm faith and devotion to Krishna. So we now think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply played this trick of mercy on us by sending his friends to beg food from us. Otherwise, he had no need to send them. He could have satisfied their hunger then and there just by willing to do so. Thus, Krishna proved that all yajnas are actually meant to satisfy him. So, therefore, all sacrifices must be to please Krishna. So, the best sacrifice for this age is to perform Sankirtana Yajna. Because when it happens, especially by hearing from a pure devotee, like Suta Goswami, it has great effect. So just as Suta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada actually also delivered the same effect of all the yajnas by giving Sankirtana Yajna. So Prabhupada started with Sankirtana Yajna in the ISKCON in United States of America. In September 1965, he landed in Boston. 1 year later, exactly 1 year after he landed, and he performed Sankirtana here and there, he used to chant and he used to induce, people became serious. The first fire sacrifice, first yajna of ISKCON happened on September 9th, 1966. It was the first Diksha ceremony, initiation ceremony of ISKCON. Very interesting how it happened. In that first yajna, no one was asked to shave his head or even cut his hair, because they all not like us having at least decent hairstyle. They're all hippies. Prabhupada didn't even ask them to cut his hair or change his dress. No one offered Prabhupada the traditional Guru Dakshina. Hardly anyone even relieved him of his chores. Swamiji himself had to do most of the cooking and other preparations for the initiation. He was perfectly aware of the mentality of his boys. He did not try to force anything on anyone. Some of the people who were getting initiated did not know until after the initiation. When they were going to take the oath, then only they came to know that the 4 rules, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, were mandatory for all disciples. They asked Prabhupada, oh, is this mandatory? Prabhupada's reply then was, I am very glad that you are finally asking me. So it was to be a live Vedic sacrifice with a ceremonial fire right there in front of Swamiji's apartment, front room of Swamiji's apartment. Center of the room was the sacrificial arena, the Yagna Kunda, platform of bricks, 4 inches high, 2 feet square, covered with a mound of dirt. The dirt was from the courtyard and the bricks were from nearby broken building. Around the mound were 11 bananas, because 11 people were getting initiated. Some ghee, sesame seeds, whole barley grains, 5 colors of powdered dyes, and supply of some kindling. So the 11 initiates took up most of the remaining space in the front room as they sat on the floor knee to knee around the sacrificial arena. The guests in the hallway peered curiously. For everyone except the Swami, this was all new and strange. Every step of the ceremony took place under his direction. When some of the boys had made a mess of trying to apply Vaishnava tilak to their foreheads, Prabhupada had patiently guided his finger up their foreheads, making a neat, narrow V. So then Prabhupada started chanting mantras for the ceremony. Now he said, repeat after me. And he had them repeat one word at a time. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastham gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabahyabhyantara shuchihi Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Then he gave the translation. Unpurified or purified, or even having passed through all situations, one who remembers the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead is cleansed within and without. So actually Prabhupada was saying, you are, from whatever situation you are, today by this remembering Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are becoming purified. Then he told them how to do achaman. Take on this thing and, somebody took in right hand, put in left hand. And saying, no, do this other way. Then he told everyone, keep chanting Hare Krishna. They were all chanting. And then Prabhupada did the initiation. So he had to even teach his pranama mantra himself. Namah Vishnu. Prabhupada taught, first time, Prabhupada only composed his own pranama mantra. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine. He taught them. And he gave translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. So then all the devotees also did. Then he gave them Kantimala. And he said, these are like dog collars, identifying you as Krishna's dog. So one of them, Valley, one boy, received his beads and his new name as Umapati. He returned to his place beside Howard, who had become Hayagriva. And he said, that was wonderful. Getting your beads is wonderful. Howard became Hayagriva, Valley became Umapati, Bill became Ravindra Swarupa, Carl became Karlapati, James became Jagannatha, Mike became Mukunda, Jan became Janaki, Roy became Rayarama, Stanley became Striyadisha. So like this, all of them became initiated. Then Swamiji began the fire sacrifice by sprinkling the dyes of earth on the mount. And then he took the twigs and wooden splinters, dipped them into the ghee, lit them in a candle flame, built a small fire. He mixed the sesame seeds, barley, ghee in a bowl, passed the mixture around. He told everyone, put handful into the fire. They all put. And he told them to chant Swaha. Then they all chanted Swaha, Swaha. And then as soon as they started pouring, after 15 to 20 minutes, the whole place became thick with fire and smoke. Like they are saying, no, here Sutta Shaunakadi Rishis, our bodies became with smoke black. So smoke thickened. A few of the initiates got up and ran coughing into the other room. The guests retreated into the hallway. But Swamiji went on pouring the remaining ghee and seeds into the fire. And he said, because Prabhupada was being disturbed also by smoke, but different kind of smoke, by all these people who would come to his lectures, just opposite to 26 Second Avenue Matchless Gift, just opposite there was one cigarette shop. They will listen to the lecture, go and smoke and come back. And still that smoke will be lingering. So Prabhupada used to tell many times, no intoxication, but still they were doing. So now Prabhupada took revenge. So he said, this kind of smoke does not disturb. He said, other smoke disturbs, but this kind of smoke does not disturb. Even though everyone's eyes were watering with irritation, he asked that the windows should remain closed. So most of the smoke remained in the apartment. Why? Because neighbors will complain if it goes out. So finally, ceremony got over. Prabhupada got up and he started dancing. All the devotees danced. Sankirtana was performed, and thus the first fire sacrifice of ISKCON was conducted. Soon after, September 15th, 1966, Prabhupada conducted the first wedding of ISKCON, also with fire sacrifice, of Mukunda and Janaki. Although a sannyasi never performs weddings, Prabhupada was the only one who knew how to do a Vedic wedding. So he did it. Janaki wore a Banarasi red silk sari, silver earrings, bridal jewelry. Prabhupada joked to Janaki's elder sister Joan, who later became Yamuna Mataji, that you are from the girl's side, you must be arranging the marriage. So you cook with me. So Prabhupada taught her cooking. We are from the girl's side, we must arrange for this wedding very nicely. So like this, Prabhupada, as a pure devotee like Suta Goswami, he conducted all these, he taught all these to people who are completely not knowing anything about. Here Suta Goswami is speaking to Shaunakadi Rishis who are experts, and they are being pleased by the nectar. They are fully satisfied by the nectar of lotus feet, Govinda. But Prabhupada gave this nectar of lotus feet of Govinda to people who are totally undeserving hippies. At that time, there was one in the Harvard University in New York. There were two famous, biochemists and physicists who were famous for synthesizing one drug called LSD. They said LSD is the drug for spiritual realization. So, Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert. Richard Alpert later came to Vrindavan and became Ramadas. Of course, not Prabhupada's disciple. He went and gave his guru only LSD and said, this will help in spiritual realization. So anyway, so these people, the followers of this Timothy Leary, once they came to Prabhupada in 26 2nd Avenue and they wanted to challenge. Oh, these people are also doing something spiritual, but maybe our LSD adding will help. Because all these hippies, they were taking LSD before. So they came and said, they all sat in the kirtan and they thought, let us experience what high we will get by chanting. They were in a challenging mood. Is it better than LSD? They wanted to see. So the kirtan got over, then one of them asked Prabhupada that, what do you think of LSD? So Prabhupada replied that drugs were not necessary for spiritual life. They cannot produce any spiritual consciousness. All drug-induced religious versions are simply hallucination. To realize God was not so easy or not so cheap that one could do it simply by taking a pill or by smoking. Chanting Hare Krishna is a purifying process to uncover one's pure consciousness. So, the person responded who challenged Prabhupada, but have you ever taken LSD? To Prabhupada. You are not taken, so how you can say it is not? So Prabhupada replied, I have never taken any of these things, not even cigarettes or tea. Then he said, if you have not taken, how can you say that it is what it is? So they all burst into laughter. Some of them started clapping. So Prabhupada said, so patiently, I have not taken, but my disciples have taken all these things, marijuana, LSD, many times. They have given them all up. You can hear from them. Hayagriva, you can speak. So Hayagriva was a Harvard University professor of English. So he got up. He said, no matter how high you go on LSD, eventually you reach a peak, then you have to come back down. Just like traveling into outer space, very far away from the earth for thousands of miles. But day after day, your spacecraft cannot travel very far away from the earth for thousands of miles. It can simply go on traveling and traveling. Eventually it must land. On LSD, we experience going up, but we always have to come down again. That's not spiritual consciousness. When you actually attain spiritual or Krishna consciousness, you stay high because you go to Krishna. You don't have to come down. You can stay high forever. Prabhupada, after this whole meeting, he sat in his back room with Hayagriva and Umapati, and this Umapati spoke, you just get higher and higher, you don't have to come down. Prabhupada smiled, yes, that's right. No more coming down. And they all started clapping. So this conversation inspired these two devotees to to produce one new pamphlet which they started distributing among hippies to make them devotees. The pamphlet read, "Stay high forever, no more coming down, practice Krishna consciousness, expand your consciousness by practicing the transcendental sound vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." So this pamphlet then gave great impetus and turned many hippies into happies. So one of these people said how Prabhupada was so patient. When someone takes LSD, they are really into themselves. They don't hear properly when someone talks to them. So Swamiji would make particular points. They would not understand him. So he would have to make the same point again and again and again. He was very patient with these people, but he would not give in to their claim that LSD was bona fide spiritual aid to self-realization. He maintained that Hare Krishna mantra is better than LSD. It can make you stay high forever. Srila Prabhupada ki. So we have short the time. Hare Krishna.